hundreds of people have taken to New York's Times Square calling for an end to US war crimes in Iran and Gaza, some reportedly waving the Iranian regime flag.
Iran is under attack! What do we do? What do we do?
As an Iranian, how does it make you feel seeing things like this?
I mean, we don't even call them the Iranian regime. They are the Islamic regime. It's not the name that we gave them. It's the name that they gave themselves. They don't identify with Iran. They don't even say that they care about Iran, and they identify as the Islamic regime. That flag is a flag that symbolizes oppression for millions, tens of millions of Iranians. So I think it's both upsetting and incredibly ironic that we're seeing these, so-called human rights protesters pouring out into the streets for the first time to say hands off the regime in Iran. Well, where were they when it was time to say hands off the Iranian people? For 46 years that this regime was oppressing and harming Iranian people, Iranian women, flogging them for showing their hair, shooting out their eyes, lynching them from cranes. The human rights activists of our time had absolutely nothing to say. And now that there's targeted strikes on regime commanders and IRGC facilities, the human rights activists are pouring out into the streets to say hands off the regime. It's literally like living in a dystopian episode of Black Mirror.
It's such a good way of putting it. And speaking of those hypocrites on human rights, we saw the bombing yesterday of an Israeli hospital by Iran, whose missiles continue to hit residential areas in Israel. Elica, maybe I missed it, but I didn't see the world explode in outrage over this, like perhaps they have when it's infrastructure in Gaza that's been used by Hamas terrorists.
Yeah, I mean, so those IRGC missiles, I wouldn't even say from Iran, because it's not Iran doing these attacks. It is the regime, it is the IRGC that has nothing to do with the Iranian people. And yeah, absolutely, there was no outrage when Israeli innocent civilians and children were being killed by these missiles, which is exactly what happened. Instead, the world's reaction is they deserved it. I'm sorry, but no matter what you feel about the government or, Israel's government or whichever government anywhere in the world, there is no excuse for dehumanizing an entire nation of people and yet again claiming to be the bastions of human rights and freedom and liberation and all of these things that people talk about, being anti-violence. Well, if you're so anti-violence, how are you so supportive of innocent civilians in Israel being killed? And it just goes back to the same thing that we've been saying since October 7th, which is that all of their activism is not real. It's not authentic. What it is anti-Semitism in disguise. Because if it was authentic, if it really was about Gazan civilians, then they would have been just as upset to see Israeli civilians being killed. If it really was about humanity and human life, they wouldn't be speaking up for Iranians for the first time when there's a missile coming from Israel and have had nothing to say for 46 years when the regime was oppressing the Iranian people. So their selective outrage proves what we've been saying for the past year and a half, which is that this has nothing to do with the Middle East, nothing to do with Gaza, and everything to do with anti-Semitism. And just like in Nazi Germany, this passion for anti-Semitism is bringing us to another world war.
The silence, the selective outrage, as you put it, it just speaks volumes, doesn't it? I want to show you this clip. Tucker Carlson has sat down with Republican Senator Ted Cruz, and their interview included this gotcha moment.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
how could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Elica, what did you make of this moment? And it seems to me Donald Trump is going to have a hard time balancing this divide in the MAGA movement over whether or not he should get involved in the Middle East.
I think this interview is just absolutely comical. You know, you have two knuckleheads, literally knuckleheads, debating each other about a country that none of them know anything about. And one of the knuckleheads tells the other knucklehead that they know the population of Iran because they Googled it 5 minutes ago. And the whole internet thinks that this is a gotcha moment where Ted Cruz got owned by the other knucklehead on the other side. I mean, it's absolutely hilarious. It is truly hilarious that, you know, the most clueless people are claiming to represent what Iranian people want, and neither of them are even interested in listening to what Iranian people want, not at the level of regime change, not at the level of, you know, their feelings about this war, not at the level of their feelings about, you know, what's happening in the rest of the Middle East. They just have absolutely no knowledge or interest in what's really going on in Iran. And you have them going back and forth about who knows what the population of Iran is. I mean, really, in a time of a very, very heavy and difficult time, this is actually comedic relief.
Well, maybe we need a bit of a laugh during these difficult times. Elica Le Bon, thank you so much for your time and your insights.
Thank you.